Okay, I'm back. Show you a couple of things I did yesterday. This I hit yesterday a couple of times, and I love this rock. It's grainy and it's sandy, but it doesn't have very high mass, so there's not a lot of silica in it. But it does look relatively homogeneous if I don't get into a bunch of concrete in the middle. And I'm going to go ahead and save this and try and make a point out of that. And it's kind of analogous in my mind to some of the Tennessee flint that doesn't seem well silicified. And it might, might make an interesting point. So I'm going to keep working that. This is a rock that I hit and kept hitting because it has interesting banding in it. And this is tough rock and badly needs heat. And it's got some real problems, like with huge concavities that mean I'm going to have to lose most of this rock. But I mean, look at the banding and stuff. Sometimes you'll get a rock that's problematic but might be worth salvaging. So I'll probably actually try and heat this at some point in the distant future, because I don't get around to that stuff usually. What else? This is another rock that's very problematic but might be interesting. It's tough. It's not flint so much as it is kind of concretey flint, but I mean, it's homogeneous. And so it probably will take some heat. I haven't ever tried to heat this stuff, but I don't even know if people have a name for this stuff. But it almost is like trying to hit porcelain tile or something, except but the problem is it just, what you generally have happen with a lot of this kind of rock that's tough is that as you come down in size and start hitting with lower mass, and on lower mass, you start having problems with the flake tensile strength not being good enough because of the lack of silica and the granularity, and you end up getting steppiness and problems and creating issues that don't exist with the initial bigger flakes. So you got to be careful working stuff like this if you're going to try and work it. I got a bunch of rock here to hit. I don't know what the deal is with this. This is another one of those ones that not only was full of cracks, but is full of fossils. So cracks plus fossils, and this looks like it got hot right in here. Because you got the cracks going all which way, so that's not freeze cracking, that looks like heat cracking, which is a bad thing. So it might be that this rock was one that I skinned and then just discarded, but I'm probably going to get rid of this one. Throw it away. Okay, so I thought I'd show you something nicer a little bit. This is tabular flint, Central Texas, and as you can see, it's real pretty and it's glossy even. It's shiny, waxy right there. So odds are this would make a nice Clovis or some other fairly narrow point. It isn't that hard to work. You do have a pretty big square edge there. I mean, it requires a degree of creativity. I tell you, I keep trying to get everybody to do indirect percussion. Indirect percussion is a game changer with this sort of thing because you can get so much force put into flakes and you can get them so accurate that you can just zigzag this side or whatever and come around here, and you can zigzag this side a little bit, but you also can basically blast flakes across and just cut off some of this stuff from the other side, and you can end up salvaging most of the width and going ahead and getting yourself a decent point and a fairly long point, whereas other techniques would maybe yield a point but not as good a one. That right there is what I wish somebody had called me up and offered me 14 trucks load of. I might have to change my name and go call from Greasecack to Golden Candy Worker Boy or something. I shouldn't have hit that like that. I kind of messed it up. That's all right. I got too much of an angle into my point, but with this kind of thing, you know, this is not a surgical tool. This is what we call a masochist Monday rock. One of the things, though, that a lot of people don't think about is that the old boys made a lot of heavy tools for heavy use out of tough and kind of crummy rock. So before you throw away or don't pick up, hitting on a square edge don't work very well. Even if you put a little angle on it, that can help a lot. Crack. Before you throw the big stuff away or fail to pick it up, you know, if you're in a rock poor area, see, this is ledge flint, this is the tabular stuff, but it is full of fossils. And you might be amused attempting to work this, but you're probably going to fail if what you're trying to do is get a nice point. You will probably get a really ugly point. I thought I'd show you this. I haven't decided what to do with this. I've been saving this. I kind of would like to do a video making a point out of this. It's just a broken off piece of nodular kind of amoeba looking stuff. I don't know if that's a crack that runs down there, but I kind of like it. I don't know what to do with that. This is sort of masochist rock. No, this is real masochist rock. I don't even think I should hit this, but see? We'll try. Oh yeah. So this one, if you keep hitting it, you're wasting your time and your arm. Now another thing about that, when you're out in the field, that one goes in the must be thrown away area. If you're out in the field, don't ruin your arm. Hit downward, supporting it back up here, and pushing on that to make it wrap a little bit. But see, that's kind of cool rock. So, as horrible as this looks, I'm going to keep it, and I'm going to see at some point, because it's kind of flat here. This is all bowed and bad, but in theory, there might be a point in here that if there is, it's like blackish flint and cool flint, so this right here is one of them rocks that most people might consider leverite. And it might be a leverite, but it didn't get left. Well, it's starting to look like a leverite. And the reason is, I like the flint just fine. Interesting color. Tiny bit waxy in between the concrete and stuff. But that's a freeze crack that goes all the way down the middle of this thing. And I see another one splitting off that way. And there's another little crack in there, and this shape is no good. So, bye. The rock that could have been. Man, I hope this isn't too boring to y'all. I mean, I'm not bored because I'm getting hit, but again, isn't that interesting? Interesting rock. It's an interesting shape that where I come from we call bad. course, if you hit it right, you can make it better kind of quick. Interesting. Again, stuff like this is where you can get really creative with big indirect and substitute the big indirect for the direct to get your power and accuracy in there to shoot big flakes. Where you can, you know, get some stuff done quickly because the rock is cool. It's just a problem, but it's cool. So, hey, you know, especially if you can get it for free. All right, so maybe I'll grab something else here. What do I do? I ought to hit something with a hammerstone. So, hammerstones are very useful. That right there looks fire popped. And it also looks really low grade, and it looks like it's got a big crack there. One of the issues that I have is I have a fair amount. Dang. Dang. Ew. It's actually too big, and I'm getting a little bit. You need to match your hammerstones to what you're trying to do with them. Because if it's too small and too low a mass, that's bad. But if it's too big and too slow, that's bad too. Real colorful, really weird, but really tough. Dang it. I mean, like, really tough? That's one of them ones you put your kiln, you soak it in water for a while and then put your kiln on nuke level heat and turn it on and just go away laughing because it's like, you know, executing a rock or something. This rock's real dense and real interesting. I don't know though, man. Hit it with something big here. That's not a good spot to be hitting it. See how that bulbed out? When you hit a really tough rock with solid copper on a kind of a square edge, I've talked about this before, the force starts going in, but it makes a big bulb because it can't push immediately, so it doesn't go fast enough, and it bulbs out really big and blows up like that. And the solution for that a lot of times is to be able to either get your better angle on your platform, but to, you know, redirect. On the real tough flint, I like to redirect a lot more than on good flint. And by redirect, I say, you know, hit downward to go inward because you're supporting it. But that's also, again, that's that stuff that will look cool if this thing is heated. I've been wanting to do a video on working spalls and talking about spalls. But one of the things that I want to mention is, you know, a lot of rock sellers blank out or spall a lot of rock, and they need to do it in an efficient manner for them, and they need to do it in a quick manner. And most of the people doing that are people that can work just about anything A lot of them are. And they tend to use either copper or mild, really mild steel hammers. And so when you blank the stuff, you get more concavities on the spalls, which isn't a problem for a lot of people to work, but which is definitely a problem for a lot of other people to work. So I've been wanting to show how to deal with that. The key thing to note is that when you have a decent sized spall, if one side of it is a big concavity, well, you're going to lose a lot of that. And you can't hit into that coming this direction before you've taken a lot of it off from that side or worked it in from the ends or whatever to flatten it out. So one of the first things you do when you get a rock that's a bunch of big concavities from having been spalled with a hard percussor is start coming in and losing what you have to get the contours correct for further reduction. Anyway, I don't know how valuable this discussion is. I keep stuff like that and work it. It's amoeba. It's a darker variant, a little bit of amoeba. But this is a good quality flint. And so it's kind of like the ultimate puzzle. It'll be fun to work. I'll tell you a secret about a lot of Texas root beer. See this rock? Is that the most gorgeous rock you've ever seen? A lot of Texas root beer is horrible to try and work. A lot of it is extraordinarily tough. And this particular piece, you know, looks like it's got these blocky cracks, which isn't a good sign. The quality of the root beer makes it where some of it cracks more easily than other rock, and the freeze cracking and stuff. I don't know if you saw what I just did, but I was trying to hit that at an angle to get something other than a totally square edge here. Thick Cortex, always a joy to get off. Look how thick that Cortex is. If you're buying that rock by the pound, hope it's lightweight Cortex. You see how I'm hitting? This is not particularly safe. It's too big for me to freehand it and just hit straight down. But when you hit it on leather like this and you hit straight down, if it's a big flake, it can flip back and get your hand. On your striking hand, really the thing that needs the protection most is the back of your hand, it seems like. So a leather glove on that hand might be not a bad idea if you're hitting big stuff. If you're hitting rock with mass. Uh-oh, I'm losing my morning energy. I had temporary energy from coffee and it's leaving. I did quite a bit of stuff yesterday and the day before. See how that exploded? That wasn't me, that was the rock. You can see a bunch of little freeze cracks and crap in the rock right here. But pay attention to your debitage because it's an indicator as to what's going on. More cracks. The blockiness of its initial thing was the indicator that it might have problems, and I don't know how far that goes in, but if it goes in very far, this is so chunky that it's an issue. This almost looks like a somewhat aged quarry rock that's maybe hit by a machine along one square edge. This square edge looks hit by a machine. That's freeze crack. You're like, well, what's the difference? Well, there is difference as far as the structural soundness of it. Failed. Because of the lack of abrading. I am failing. Failing and fading, fading and failing. Alright, with that we will stop on that. And we will stop on this video. I think that's all I'm going to do on this. I've got a bunch of weird rock here that I could hit all day long and show you, but better for me to suffer alone with it. I'll try and do something more interesting next time. Bye for now. Freeze crack.